Hello and welcome to Rabbit Chats. We're so glad you're here today. I know I'm glad for this opportunity to talk with Eric Stewart today. I know everyone's going to do a face palm. I can't help myself. I love bad puns. Every week they're just like, oh my goodness, Brittany, stop. It's cringeworthy, but I'm sure somebody else love it. Leave us a comment. Let us know. What's your favorite rabbit pun?
We love you, Brittany. We still love you.
Anyway, my name is Brittany Sweeney. I'm the communications manager with the Livestock Conservancy. Here with me today is Pork Ryan. He loves pork, but he's here to talk rabbits with us. He also likes rabbits. It's hard not to. They're so cute and tasty.
And tasty. Emphasis on the tasty part. Let's not forget that.
Absolutely. And our very special guest today is Eric Stewart from the American Rabbit Breeders Association, better known as ARBA. We're so glad you're here. Thanks for joining us today. Eric, do you want to
thank you for having me?
Absolutely. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Eric Stewart, and I'm the executive director for the American Rabbit Breeders Association based out of Knox, Pennsylvania. I've been raising rabbits for 35 years, and I'm a rabbit judge and a KB judge, and I love rabbits. It's been a part of my life. I don't know what it's like to not have to do chores after work. That's been something my entire life, either coming home off the school bus and taking care of rabbits or coming home from work to take care of rabbits. So it's a labor of love.
That's wonderful. For people who don't know, what are cavies?
Cavies are, well, and a lot of people call it cavy also. Cavy is a term used for guinea pigs. Their Latin name is Cavius porcellus, so it's been shortened just to cavy.
Oh, gotcha. I heard some pork in there. I think I heard pork in there.
Yeah, and that's probably due to the moniker attached to them being called guinea pigs. Porcellus, porcine, that's swine. So it's part of the Latin name.
Well, yeah, I don't know what a guinea pig would taste like, but I have had rabbit, and let me say, it is some delicious, succulent, beautiful meat, whether it's fried, whether it's stewed. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's amazing. Well, anyways, we can talk about rabbit food, not what we feed rabbits, but eating rabbits later. But I was really just kind of interested because I'm, more of a pork guy. I'm still learning a lot about the different species and heritage breeds within that. With ARBA, what exactly is ARBA? I know we understand the acronym and we can kind of get a good idea, but what exactly does ARBA do for rabbit breeders, rabbit enthusiasts, and the rabbit community at large?
The American Rabbit Breeders Association has been in existence in one form or another since 1910. So we have 111 years of experience representing the rabbit industry in North America. Even though we're the American Rabbit Breeders Association, we have a strong membership contingency in Canada and even abroad. So one would think, the American Rabbit Breeders Association would only represent the United States, but we've become very global. There's been a lot of growth, particularly in Asia, in recent years. Many Asian countries are now hosting rabbit shows. And we even have ARBA licensed judges from Japan, Indonesia, that are native Japanese, Indonesian people who have gone through the rigorous training process to become judges. So originally the ARBA, when we were based, there were sanctioned shows, but a lot of our association is based off of the standards. And when we talk about standards, that's the standard of perfection for each breed. And you, of course, have standards for swine, cattle, horses, and it's the same thing with rabbits. So when the first when we talk about rabbits, we're going to be talking about domestic rabbits. And the first domestic rabbits were brought over to the U.S., in early days, but it was really the Belgian hare boom in the late 1800s when the Belgian hares were first brought in that started the rabbit craze. And in addition to rabbit shows, people were, of course, wanting to raise rabbits for meat, for pelts, and even for wool. A lot of people don't recognize the fact that there are Angora rabbits that are essentially the sheep of the rabbit world. You shear them just like anything else. And so it has grown through the years to expand to cover all aspects of rabbits, whether it be pets, whether companion rabbits, for using them for agriculture, as a protein source. The pelt industry is pretty much died out, but the Angora wool industry has actually improved over time, particularly with people looking for more humane practices being used. There was one of the countries where they produced the most Angora wool in the world, but there were embargoes placed on them. So it's provided new opportunities for people in the United States and other countries to capitalize on the opportunity to produce wool. So we also have expanded to our shows. So we have rabbit shows, about 4,400 RAP sanctioned ARBA shows per year. So and in the 1970s, they started a youth program. So not only do we have where we're supporting the rabbit industry in all of its facets, we're also having sanctioned shows. We get new breeds, either they're imported from other countries, they're developed here, and there's a rigorous process for that. And new breeds also create new interest. And we have the youth programs. So here I am, a middle-aged man who grew up as a little boy raising rabbits. It's wonderful to be able to provide these educational, competitive opportunities, scholarship opportunities for young people coming up, and helping to train our replacement someday. That's one thing I really have to commend the ARBA on doing, is the development of the youth programs. It's fostering our future, providing young people who maybe don't have the opportunity to raise cattle or hogs, but they can have a few rabbits in their yard, and teaching people where their food comes from, and maybe reducing our carbon footprint in the process. So the ARBA, if it involves rabbits or cavies, we've got our finger in it.
Wow. I feel like my mind was just like this close to just exploding. And we just started. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Well, in the beginning, what you were saying, you mentioned now ARBA is spreading not just across the states, but it's international. And I think that's really important. Kind of really quickly talk about what's your opinion on this? Why do you think ARBA and rabbit husbandry is becoming more popular and mainstream within other continents or across the globe as large?
A lot of it is developing economies, and thankfully, better opportunities for people in some of these countries that maybe at one time had been more third world countries, and of course not Japan, but new opportunities for a middle class, and they have the opportunity to say, we've been raising rabbits, because actually rabbits are the most efficient protein source of any domestic animal. And when you talk about digestible protein, that's why it's great for individuals who may have digestive problems, heart disease. It's lower in fat, higher digestibility to the protein than even poultry. And you don't have the noise. If you're raising poultry, they're loud. Rabbits are silent. And a lot of people in these countries may have been raising rabbits for many years, but you know what? I might want to have a particular breed. I may want to raise them to take to rabbit shows. So, with this growing middle class, there are more opportunities to take advantage of some fun things instead of just subsistence.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I think about the show pig industry, and you have these FFA kids that are buying this special formulated feed that's 21% crude protein, and how expensive all that is. And I think about rabbits, and how they are just very economically friendly, very, very economically friendly. Eric, if you could give a breakdown on some average costs or some average benefits to having rabbits, and how that can be a very economical alternative for meat.
Well, and that's really what rabbits were always about. Even when rabbits were first, all domestic rabbits descend from the European wild rabbit. It's, Aryctolagus caniculus. Um, and it was the monasteries, where like lords would have their places. They would actually have a warrener, and they would create a rabbit warren, and that's where they maintained the rabbits, and they would harvest them for the family. Because domestic rabbit, you've got a greater yield, and it's also, you can decide when you're going to be harvesting them versus wild rabbits. And that's how that's how rabbit breeds actually started to begin. You look at the Champagne d'Argents. It's a silver rabbit, the silver rabbit from Champagne, and it was the monks in the Champagne region of France that first noticed the genetic anomaly where they came out in a different color, and they started raising those. And you watch the genesis of some of these different breeds that first came in Europe, and now they came to the United States. And as people have been raising rabbits for generations, because of they're so efficient, the feed conversion, the feed conversion to meat is higher than any other species. So let's say I purchase a 50-pound bag of feed, and I think right now it's running about $19 a bag, and it varies according to brands. So that 50-pound bag of feed, that can last quite some time for raising a doe in a litter and providing hay. And back in the older days, people would actually take household scraps, and that's what they would be feeding the rabbits as you were cutting the tops off the carrots and doing all of these things. And then you would have the grain also produced on the farm and provide that, and that's, you were raising protein off of something that you considered refuse. And there's also the added benefit, and a lot of people don't realize it. You're feeding the rabbits, but then they're actually, of course, producing manure, and there is no better compost than rabbit compost. It's one of those manures that you can actually use directly right on the ground, and it's not going to burn your plants. A lot of now you do need to be careful because of the urine, but if you're just using the feces, the manure, you can put it right on the plants. It doesn't burn them like other types of manure. And there used to be a lot of people would have a side business of raising worms, because they would have worm beds underneath the rabbit cages, and they'd be harvesting bait or worms in addition to the compost, which also has worm castings in it. So, they talk about scrapple being everything but the squeal in a pig. You can use virtually everything with rabbits. You can use, again, your household scraps from your vegetables, things like that, to help supplement their feed. And you get to grow more vegetables using their compost that they produce.
Y'all, forget cows, forget horses, forget sheep, forget goats, forget chickens. Don't forget pigs. Never forget pigs. Okay. But wow, rabbits. I always tell people that pigs historically have been a poor man's livestock, and just kind of hearing some history about rabbits, I'm like, wow, it's a poor man's and a rich man's livestock.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Well,
and a lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't realize that during the World Wars, people having just a hutch made outside, in their yard, rabbits saved millions of lives. It saved millions of people from starvation. Wow. And you breed a doe, 28 to 32 days later, she has a litter. Let's say she has 6 or 8 in the litter, and in 8 weeks, you've got several pounds of fryers that back then they weren't even buying rabbit pellets. They were just feeding what was out of the house. So you're absolutely right. It's something that you can efficiently have in the backyard, and your neighbors may not even know it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Forget chickens, y'all. I know there are a lot of chicken people on here, but chicken, nah, rabbits. When I start farming again, I am highly going to consider rabbits. I know, with my connections within niche meats and local livestock, there's this kind of concern about processing, and especially with COVID-19, there's been huge concerns about meat processing, even at a local level, and bottlenecks. Could you, if you feel comfortable, I didn't think about this question earlier until now, could you talk about rabbit processing and some of the limitations or hurdles that people who want to get into rabbit processing might experience, whether that be from a home level, because I used to butcher rabbits, or from a processing plant level?
This is one where I'd probably have to direct some folks to the USDA's website on just what are the requirements to become a processor, and what's involved with processing. There are some processing plants that do accept rabbits, but that's something where you'd have to get with the actual processing company to see whether or not they accept rabbits.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. Well, I wanted to ask, since Arba is here, for those who are interested in maybe potentially being members of Arba, what kind of benefits would you get as a member of this fine establishment?
Well, the ARBA membership is very reasonable. We subsidize our programs through other revenue sources. So, an adult membership is $20. Youth membership, is even less. We've got a 256-page guidebook that has quite literally everything about rabbits, including the history of the association, the history of each of the breeds, everything from, do I want to use crocks or water bottles, or how to set up an automatic watering system. Literally everything is in there. Breeding tips, practical experiences, and that's something that comes with your membership. You do not have to purchase that separately. And in addition to that, you get your own membership card that provides you the opportunity as evidence when you want to get your rabbits registered by a registrar, that you are an ARBA member. And there's also Domestic Rabbits Magazine, which is probably one of our biggest incentives, is you get 6 issues a year, and you figure for $20, what magazine subscription can you purchase for $20 a year? And that's something that's also a member benefit exclusive to members. So you get 6 issues of the magazine, access to the ARBA Guide to Raising Better Rabbits and Cavies, and we've got the ARBA app. So the ARBA app is something where if you go into your app store, just type in ARBA, and it's free to anybody. But if you're an ARBA member, you've got full access to Domestic Rabbits Magazine, your ARBA guidebook, the ARBA handbook. Everything is right there on your phone or your mobile device on your app. And even the ARBA Standard of Perfection, which is the book that if you want to raise rabbits or cavies, you have to have the standard. And that's something you can also get if you purchase it through your app. It stays on your app, and you can access it on your phone at any time, and you don't have to carry around a book. So yeah, ARBA membership, if you're even interested in rabbits or cavies. In fact, when people contact me and say, hey, we've got a kid that's joining our 4-H club and they're interested in rabbits, what would you recommend? And the first thing I say is join the ARBA so you can make an informed decision as to what to do. Because it's after you read that guidebook, you learn about all the other opportunities, and you may think that, I think I want to raise New Zealand's, and I'm going to do those for my 4-H project. And after you look at it, you're like, you know what? I might want to raise Florida Whites instead. They're smaller, and they were bred to be more efficient. and I can actually have more of them because they're smaller, and it's just little things like that you always want to make the informed decision. And I share the same thing with parents or anybody else. Join the ARBA, learn about all the opportunities, and then make a decision as far as committing to a breed.
That's, first of all, that's smooth marketing, just FYI. Just like before you even get in, invest now, then learn more. Smooth marketing. And the price point is perfect. It's perfect for just about any household. So folks, you can go to your app store. I know y'all can't see this. It's real. It exists. He's not lying. And so if you're interested, definitely check that out at the App Store. ARBA. Wow, that's, I look at a lot of breed associations that I work with regularly because I'm the breed association manager for the Livestock Conservancy. And I see how a lot of them could really use some more embracing of technology of any kind, literally any kind. Can you talk about how else ARBA is using technology to have outreach to all people, as well as to be a benefit to those people as well?
Well, obviously, one of the app was our probably biggest surge into using technology. And the publications that we put out, like even Domestic Rabbits magazine, because it's printed and it must go through the mail, sometimes that information gets dated. Whereas if you've got the ARBA app and on your phone, you can actually get your Domestic Rabbits magazine sooner than what everyone else is going to get it in the mailbox. We use our ARBA website. That's got our notifications on it. Everything is all of our products are available through the online store. So members at any point in time, they don't have to wait. And yes, thank you.
We got you covered.
Thanks. You don't have to wait for the office to be open or for phone hours. All of our products are accessible through the website, and even clubs that are wanting to, we have chartered clubs. And in order to have a sanctioned show, you must have a chartered club. But sanctions, show secretaries can purchase sanctions right on the website. Even clubs, if you want to form a club, all of the cells are right up there on the webpage that you fill out your charter form, submit your constitution and bylaws, and you can have a club. And by moving a lot of the things away from paper and hard copies to electronic formats, it makes it easier for the customer, and it's a better customer experience. So, and you can do that at any point in time. You don't have to wait until you get stamps to go stick something in the mailbox. And we also have our social media, our Facebook page, and we provide announcements and information that go up on our Facebook page. And even a lot of the transactions that we do now with our judges and licensees, they're all done electronically. And again, it's a better experience for everyone. And to be perfectly honest, we all need to be more green. And by moving away from paper, that's just better for the environment. It's a win-win for everyone.
Guys, y'all heard it. Stop using so much paper. Oh my goodness, we are not in the dark ages anymore. We have experienced the light and beauty of technology. Let's embrace it with every breed association and club. So Eric, thank you for just breaking down why it's important to embrace technology, especially in 2021. I know in 2020, that was a dark age. We all learned the value of technology. And so thank you again. Brittany, do we have any questions, comments, thoughts, any love that people want to show out to?
Ooh, we got lots of comments today, which is awesome. Let's see what we've got here. Hi, Julie. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're here as well. I see
what is that?
Rabbit.
English Angora?
That's lovely.
It looks cute. It looks like a piece of cotton.
Hi, Sharon. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. Happy to be here. And hi, Eric. Love it. Lots of love. Leslie, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're excited to be here too. Hi, Summer. Thanks for joining us. We're glad you're here. Let's see. Leslie said, sorry, Ryan, you're going to get
It's okay. I'm not the star of the show. It's all good.
Leslie is starting to raise conservation rabbitry with endangered American chinchilla rabbits. We're trying a natural habitat with natural warrens, but of course we have many questions on how to breed the species and animals in general. We love our bun-buns, the Bandita Ranch Wildlife Conservation. Well, thanks for raising American chinchillas. That's exciting.
Yeah. She said bun-buns. I thought that was cute. I'm going to start calling rabbits that.
I love it. Hi, Jean. Thanks for joining us today. Let's see. I'm trying to scroll through and find an actual question.
Wow, Eric, you got fans over here. This is great.
Hi, Nikki. Thanks for joining us. Nikki says Eric is the best. Such a fountain of knowledge. Heart. It's just a lot of love today. I'm just blown away. That's awesome. Hi, Chantel. Thanks for joining us today. Chantel loves the Livestock Conservancy, and it's important not to let the old breeds die out. We agree.
Amen. Amen. Amen to that. Yes. Yes. 100%.
Let's see. Oh, this was fine. Thanks for sharing, Sharon. She says rabbit manure comes in timed release pellets.
The best. The best.
I love that.
Well, and while we're looking at some of the comments as well, it's important to mention that as we look at the breeds that are listed by the Livestock Conservancy as our rare breeds, some of the breeds that are on that list, they may be rare today, but some of those breeds, particularly the chinchillas, they're part of the reason why the ARBA is what it is today. When we had the pelt and the fur industry, those breeds were huge. And the man who developed the giant chinchilla breed, they call it the $1 million rabbit. And, because it was supposed to be, well, and it is, it's a large breed. It's good for meat. They had the pelts, and they were larger pelts than, you'd be able to get on any other rabbit that was a chinchilla. And, it really helped to form the ARBA for what it is today. So, and out of those breeds, my heart, standard chinchillas. They're one of my all-time favorites. In fact, that's one of the things I said, before I retire, I'm going to raise standard chins again. That's just one of the coolest rabbits.
That's awesome. Let's see. Hi, Terry. Thanks for joining us today. Terry says, we raise rabbits and cattle. 3 does and a buck will produce more protein in a year than in growing out a steer.
Yep.
Absolutely.
That's proven science.
Let's see. I love all the love coming through today. Y'all are amazing.
Well, if we don't have any more actual questions, I did have a couple more for my new friend now, Eric. Go ahead.
We've got one. Does the ARBA provide help with achieving breeding perfections or resources for medical and such?
I'm uncertain of achieving breeding perfections. Now, as far as the lab animal, that industry is very separate now. When you're looking at rabbits being used in medical or laboratory medical research, that's something where those most of the time they have to be purpose bred specifically, and that's a separate industry. That's really falls a little bit more under ALAS, the American Association of Laboratory Animal Science. But as far as, breeding information, we absolutely, that's all part of our guide to raising better rabbits and cavies and the standard of perfection. And that's something I can't impress strongly enough, that whether it's a heritage breed or it's any breed of rabbit, if you're actually breeding rabbits for a purpose, you have to have the recipe to do it. And the standard perfection is that for all breeds.
True. Julie says, Eric, can you talk about your Angora? She raises English, French, and Satin, and apparently you have the best in the nation.
Well,
Wow.
I raise French Angoras, and earlier I was talking about, my job is I work for the American Rabbit Breeders Association, and actually a lot of my job has nothing to do with rabbits. It's primarily to do with business and keeping the business going. But my personal business is I have a farm, higher ground farm, and I raise Angora goats and rabbits. And I specialize in French Angoras, and I got my first French Angora, I think 21 years ago now. And it's one of the things where I like the French because they have the clean heads, clean feet. And when I'm shearing, you get your prime wool off of the body and the core. But I also have to admit that the English Angoras, the giant Angoras with all their tassels and furnishings, and I mean, they're covered. They're absolutely covered from their nose all the way down to their nether regions is nothing but wool. And they're opulent and beautiful. But I look at that and I'm like, I don't shear the ears to make money. I shear the body to make money. So I don't mind if they're maybe not quite so pretty, just so long as they're very efficient. And one of the things I've done too, because I'm such a rabbit nerd, is researching history. And I followed the books back and found information about the first Angoras that ever existed. And they were more like the French, where they have wool over their body, but they have the cleaner heads. But over time, they smuggled some out of France, and there were two merchants. And at the time, the law was that if you had Angora rabbits, the wool could only be harvested and provided to the nobility, because they felt that if you had undergarments made of Angora rabbit wool, that it also helped to treat STDs and social diseases. And I know it's crazy, but
How'd
only the
that work
nobility,
for him?
yeah, only the nobility could possess Angora wool, and only the royals could have the rabbit warrens that were raising the rabbits, or the Angoras. So there were two merchants that smuggled two Angora rabbits to England, and they started breeding them. And it was in England that they said, we need a more opulent rabbit. And so that's when they started breeding for the tassels on their ears. And they called them, instead of being English Angoras, they were called show bench Angoras. And it was just over time that we developed the different breeds. And of course, then in the United States, this is where they developed the satin Angoras, which has a very shiny coat. And it's probably the most valuable per ounce of any natural rabbit fiber. I mean, satin Angora wool is fantastic. It's like gold, but it's fantastic. So that's what I do for my business is, I raise mohair, I raise Angora, I shear them, I sell fleeces, yarn, hats, any kind of woolens.
All
So
right.
love the Angoras.
Thank you for asking, Julie. So we've got one more. Allie, thanks for joining us today. Allie says she owns and shows American chinchilla rabbits. One of her biggest frustrations is that judges seem to not understand the breed. What is ARBA doing to help promote the uncommon breeds and educate judges?
Something that we try to do in each issue of the Domestic Rabbits magazine, and it's one thing that I can't take credit for. Our editor, Sandra White, does a fantastic job. And in the Domestic Rabbits Committee, looking for articles. So over time, they've been trying to develop articles and informational articles about some of the different breeds. And some of the breeds that, as Ali adeptly mentioned, uncommon. You don't always see a lot of creme d'argents, depending upon where you're at, or American chinchillas. So we've been trying to develop more articles, and we try to provide something content related to a breed in every issue. So, and we also have the Judges Continuing Education Committee. And again, you might think these are just rabbits. We have an exhaustive licensing process. I mean, even in order to register a rabbit, you can't go just by lineage. If you have two registered parents, that doesn't make the offspring registered. They must be evaluated by a registrar. And if you want to be a registrar, you have to be an ARBA member for at least 3 years. And then once you become a registrar, you have to be a registrar for at least 2 years. And there's 125 question exam you must pass, 8 assists. And then even after you become a judge, we have the Judges Continuing Education Committee, and judges are tested annually, just to keep up our knowledge and make certain that we're serving our members to the best of our abilities.
That's great. It sounds very strenuous. Hi, Lynn. Thanks for joining us today. Lynn lives in the upper Mojave Desert in California, and she thinks it might be too hot here to raise rabbits. Are there any that do well in hot, dry climates?
Actually, the dry is good. Rabbits prefer a more arid environment. The problem really is the heat. And I know that, I visited a tan rabbitry in the Mojave Desert probably 20 years ago, I remember. And that was my first experience with a swamp cooler. And out west, they're able to, because it's so arid, you use swamp coolers, and it's just water goes through a pad and a fan blows it through. Whereas here, living in Pennsylvania, it's so humid, you would cook the animals. So, and one thing to always keep in mind is rabbits can handle colder temperatures perfectly fine. In fact, as long as they're out of a draft, a rabbit can sustain temperatures of minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So, but when you start looking at temperatures, once you get above 70 and 80, particularly 80 degrees, that's where rabbits don't tend to do well. That's why you need to always make sure that they're in the shade. They must always have fresh water access, not food. I know I don't need food in front of me all the time, but particularly, living in the desert, since I'm not from that climate, it might be a matter where you need to have swamp coolers installed, and just do everything you can to provide as much shade as possible.
Thanks, Lynn. We'll keep the love and the questions coming. Eric, do you want to circle back to the show question and talk a little bit about and you have rare rabbit shows and endangered rabbit shows?
Oh, yeah.
All those
yeah, what
fun-
the ARBA did a few years ago was, and this was because of our partnership with the Livestock Conservancy. As we were speaking before the show started, I remember being involved when it was the American Livestock Breeds Conservancy. So, when you mentioned the ALBC, I remember that very well. We had a liaison even with the ARBA. And it was a gentleman by the name of Bob Whitman who initiated a lot of the early dialogue with the earlier association. And then when the Livestock Conservancy reached out, we were able to reestablish our relationship. And we've had a number of breeders who were interested in having rare breed shows. And, our partnership with the Livestock Conservancy is that you do this. This is your mission, is to look at breed conservation. What are the necessary algorithms to determine what is a rare breed? What efforts need to go into particular breeds? So, this is your specialty. The ARBA, our specialty is rabbits and rabbit shows. So by partnering with you, by providing you statistics, our national shows, our registry numbers for the rabbits being registered. I believe I also sent grand champion numbers and totals, and even our totals at national conventions. That's a good idea, because looking at just one convention or one national alone really won't tell you much. But by sending information over the years, you could really get a better representation of the numbers. And so the ARBA board of directors, in their infinite wisdom, decided, hey, you know what? Why don't we have rare breed specialty shows? So we worked together with the Livestock Conservancy. You provided us a list. The board reviewed it and said yes. In fact, that's one of our things is each January, whatever the livestock can breed or the Livestock Conservancy has for breeds, those are the breeds that are in our rare breed specialty show sanctions for the year. So now clubs, and any club, any all breed club can apply for a rare breed specialty sanction. And when we talk about rabbit shows, a show might be in, let's say, Dalton, Georgia, and you've got a rabbit show there, but there might be multiple shows occurring in the same building at the same time. I know that sounds odd, but I'm sure you have that with your jackpots with the hogs. You might have you might have your breeder classes, and you know what, we're going to have a market show in conjunction with this jackpot. And same thing with rabbits. In all breed club, they're like, you know what, why don't we host 2 all breed shows today, and we'll have certain breed specialty shows. So only the American chinchillas, only they just show in their own specialty. And then on top of it, why don't we have a rare breed specialty show too? And by having these specialties, it provides people more opportunities to get more judges' opinions, because they'll be judged multiple times during the day. And in a single weekend, you might be able to win enough awards that you can grand champion your rabbits. Because if you get your 3 grand champion legs, you've got a grand champion if it's a senior. And your rare breed specialties, or your rare breed specialty show, there's a best in show associated with that, and it drives interest. And because the way the ARBA is structured, each breed can host their own specialty shows, but you can't group them. The rare breed the rare breed option provides the opportunity for people who may raise different breeds, but they're sort of related because we're interested in heritage breeds, or we're interested in rare breeds. So this group of people can compete together even though they have different breeds. So, kind of going back to the ARBA's perspective of supporting all things rabbit and KB, this was a no-brainer. If this is something that people are interested in, provide them the opportunity. And it's gone over very well.
That's great. I've never been to a rabbit show before. So I don't think I have. If I did, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've never been to a rabbit show. So if I was to go, someone who knows very little about rabbits, in fact, I know more about rabbit butchery than I do actually raising rabbits. What can I expect to learn from one of these shows as someone who currently doesn't raise rabbits but might be interested in the future?
Well, when you go into the show, there may be, let's say, like, okay, Dalton, Georgia, I'll use that as an example, because that's a huge show, and they do a fantastic job. Shout out Karen and Phil, love you. They do a fantastic job, and they're also big supporters of the rare breed specialties, and they raise American sables. So there might be anywhere from 13 to 30 judges stations at the show. So you walk into this room and you'll see rabbits in transport cages, and they're smaller than what the rabbits live in at home. But when you're transporting them, they need to be in a smaller area so they don't harm themselves, and they actually feel more secure. Rabbits are thigmotaxic. They like vertical walls. So they feel secure when they're in their transport carriers. And so you'll see people sitting in their lawn chairs or standing around talking about rabbits. You'll see what we call groom and goes or show tables, where there's a piece of carpet on top, and there will be two rabbits out on the table, and the breeders will be studying them and discussing them. And you also hear judges. The walls will be lined with judges stations, and they'll be commenting on it's got a good head, good ear, a bit low in the shoulder, nice depth over the top, little pinched at the hindquarter, those kind. And you'll hear these comments. So you probably need to stop at a station and listen for a little while, or you might get confused. And you'll notice that there are judges' boxes or the holding coops on the back. They'll pull the rabbit out, evaluate it. Every rabbit in a show is evaluated for its health as well. So we're looking at, does it have correct dentition? It's got correct colored toenails. There's no broken tail. You're also observing their color. And this all refers back to the ARBA standard of perfection. And that's the standard that the judge is assessing the animal by. So, and it's perfectly acceptable to speak to the exhibitors behind the table. What breed is that? What is the judge?
I'm gonna be asking a lot of that questions.
Yeah,
what's that breed? I have no idea.
What is he looking for, or why do they let those rabbits run up and down the table? Because there are some breeds that's part of the standard. You don't pose them on the table; they're a running breed. And then you see the Belgian hares, which they're probably one of the most elegant animals you'll ever see. And just getting the proper pose to get them up on their front legs, and they're picturesque. So you'll see the gamut. Then they pull out the Angoras, they plop them on the table, and you see all this wool, and they're like, "Is there a rabbit under there? That doesn't even look real," But you'll find that it's a wonderful community, and that's one thing that a lot of our breeders talk about is, we really like rabbits, but we love rabbit people. It becomes an extended family. This is a wonderful community, and it's a great family-oriented sport or hobby that anyone can afford to do. And it's one thing that I keep going back to is rabbit shows are anonymous. When I'm judging a show, I don't know whose animals are whose. We don't have handlers. The rabbits are put on the table. They're judged by their ear number, which is a tattoo in their ear. But you don't really know what belongs to whom. And you don't have to be a millionaire to have the best rabbits in the country. If you put in the work, you take advice, you work on quality stock, anybody could win the best in show at an ARBA national convention. I mean, it's a pure sport.
Wow. Well, I guess once all this pandemic stuff starts dying down a little bit, I'm gonna have to go to the show. I really am,
Definitely.
and definitely get me some meat breeds because I'm hungry and yeah. Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's your favorite rabbit to eat and how you like to cook your rabbit, and then we're going to go into our final Q&A. So really quickly, do you have a preference to what kind of rabbit you eat? And if you do, how would you cook it? What's your favorite way of cooking it?
My favorite rabbit to eat is the one that bites me.
Fair point. Fair point.
Yeah. As far as my favorite meat breed that I've raised were the Champagne d'Argents. That they're just a very dense rabbit. Even for their frame size, there's a ton of meat on them. And that's not speaking ill of any other breeds. It's just my favorite. My favorite way to cook rabbit is actually grilling it. And you like to marinate it and marinate it, dry it, towel it off, and then just put brown sugar, cumin, red pepper, and a rub. Stick it on the grill low and slow.
Mm. Oh man, I got some cooking ideas now. All right, yeah. If any of you guys have rabbit meat and you want to slide me a couple of fryers, let me know. I will cook it for you and do a taste testing. All right, y'all. Final Q&A. If you have any questions, now is your time. Put them in the comment section, and Brittany will read them off for you.
And while she's working on that, if I could also just quickly mention, in each issue of Domestic Rabbits, we also have a creative cook corner. So Pork Ryan, whenever you join the ARBA tonight, your next issue of Domestic Rabbits magazine, you can start getting all of your recipes. And just to also speak as onto the show topic, if you back to the ARBA.net, anything you ever need with rabbits, you go to ARBA.net. If you go under member resources, there's a find a show link. And in fact, it's the first in the drop down that once you click find a show, there's a search engine where you can look at particular states, districts, what type of show. If you just want to search for rare breed specialty shows, you can do that. And you can find out where all the sanctioned shows are in the country or globally.
Wow, thank you, Eric. And, y'all, he's smooth. Y'all saw what he just did, right? Y'all saw what he just did, right? But no, again, it seems like Arbit has a ton of value to any member, and so yeah, if you're even considering being a member, just remember it's only $20. I'm assuming that's annual, correct?
That's annual, yes.
Yeah, $20, folks. $20, right? Go for it. Go for it. You'll learn a whole lot. All right, Brittany, any questions?
Let's see. We've got a couple that have come in. Julie says, Eric, if you could pick one rabbit breed that you feel is underrepresented, which breed would you choose?
To be perfectly honest, it has to be the standard chinchilla. Even looking through history, what that breed has done for the ARBA and the rabbit industry is amazing. And they even have the shorter head and ear. You know, that they're even a cute rabbit, and just the striking color when you blow into the coat, that pearl ring. And I know I'm dating myself, but when I first got my judge's license 26 years ago, I know.
How old are you, Eric? You look young.
I'm well preserved. It's lots of rabbit. Keeps you young. But I remember going to shows, and you might have 60 or 70 standard chins, depending upon where you were. Now, a lot of the shows, I can go almost a year without touching one, and I hate that because it's a fantastic breed.
Thanks, Julie. Great question. Chantel says her husband is a chef and she recommends marinating in red wine and rosemary and slow roasting. That also sounds delicious.
All right.
Hi, Vernon. Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you're here. Vernon wants to know, will the app update the standard of perfection automatically?
Yes, it will per edition. Now, our standard of perfection is good for 5 years. So during that 5-year period, any updates to the standard will automatically be updated in the app version of the standard. But after that 5-year period, yes, someone would need to purchase the new standard, and it would be the same situation. Anytime there was an update during the 5-year period, it would automatically update in the app version.
Great question.
Smart.
Thanks, Brandon. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for joining us today. Lauren says, any advice on locating processors in our area? There are so few that process rabbits in my area of Western North Carolina.
The best recommendation I could offer would be to perhaps contact, if you go to the About Us, you have the commercial committee. If you contact the commercial committee, they're the ones who are in charge of making certain that we have a current set of processors that currently accept rabbits. But again, go into the committee section and the commercial department. They're the ones that hold those keys. Good
And
question.
if I can add on to that, check out, I think it's the Niche Meat Processors Network, based out of Oregon State, but they have a whole network of different niche meat processors, and normally rabbits would fall under that. I live in North Carolina, and there aren't really a whole lot in the western part of North Carolina. There is one, I believe, out in the eastern part of the state. It is quite the drive. There actually is someone around the Boone area who is doing rabbits at a larger scale, and she will go there every so often to dump her large batch rabbits for meat. Hit me up on Facebook, and I might be able to connect you with that person. So just let me know.
Thanks, Lauren. Let's see, we've got one more here. Summer wants to know if you have an opinion on the silver fox.
I love them. And that's also another breed where I remember back in the day, it's not flattering, but they weren't very good. In fact, you'd get silver fox on your list and you're like, who did I make angry? What did I do wrong? But you know what? I would say it's probably about 15 years ago. The breed really got some champions, and champions being breeders serious about, bringing them back to what they were. And I mean, I've picked silver fox for all breed best in shows, and I'm not even talking about, a specialty. The breeds just really improved a lot. You hardly even see the poor coats, because the silver fox, you've got a longer coat, but it's still supposed to be dense, and it stands up, and you've got to have enough fortitude to those guard hairs for that to stand up like that. And I haven't seen a terrible silver fox coat in years. And you're seeing animals that they've got good type, they've got adequate bone, they're making weight. Now we're just pretty much looking at, like, is it too heavily silvered? Is it too dark? What is correct? But, all of the other pieces are there. I've seen the breed improve so much.
That's awesome. Well, if we've got time for one more, Chantel wants to know if you have any funny bunny stories.
Oh,
man. There's so many. But yeah, well, funny was I did a presentation for a Rotary Club earlier, and I have a Britannia, because I also raise Britannia Petites, and they're a lively rabbit. You don't want to. They will nip you. They're not afraid. Little tiny rabbit, huge personality. And I had one that I particularly liked, and I called her Cuddles. And I'm a fairly big guy. You wouldn't picture me naming a rabbit Cuddles, but then when you find out that it's a ruby-eyed white Britannia Petite that'll take your arm off, that's what makes it funny. So I took Cuddles to this Rotary meeting, and they just died laughing whenever she was trying to bite me.
Oh, that's fun. Well, thanks for all your wonderful questions and love today on Facebook. That was awesome. Rabbit people are amazing. Well, I believe it's almost an hour. Should we wrap it up with some, shameless plugs?
yes, we should wrap it up with some shameless plugs. Eric, take it away. What is your shameless plug for today?
Well, again, anybody with any interest, and it doesn't, even if you're not able to raise rabbits yourself currently, if you're even interested in the hobby, or you're a foodie. I mean, I didn't know that Pork Ryan was such a foodie. You just want to join the ARBA so you can get our recipes. And for $20, I mean, can you really, $20? That's like two people going through McDonald's, if that. You can shake that out of the cushions of your couch. So, and you get our guidebook, which is something you retain forever, access to everything on the app. You can register your animals, quite literally anything involving rabbits. You want to be a member. So check us out on Facebook, our website, and definitely down in the ARBA app is free. You don't have to be a member to get the app, but you do have to be a member to access all of our resources. So
For
Thank
only
you very much.
$20.
just
$20.
$20. If you're just listening in, it is arba.net, the website. So please go there, check out all of the wonderful benefits. If you're looking on Facebook, that's at American Rabbit Breeders Association. We will post links to both of those on the page today. Ryan, speaking of memberships, you want to tell people about our memberships?
Yes, and more yeses. All right, y'all. So I do this every chapter I'm a part of. I love being a member for the Livestock Conservancy. I'm a conservation champion, and what that basically means is I pay. How many fingers I got? I got 5 fingers. So I pay. Well, actually, this is a thumb. So I pay $4 a month to be a full member of the Livestock Conservancy. $4 a month. It's not me having to remember, oh, I got to remember to pay $4 each month, like, with the annual renewal of 45. No, I just got to pay $4 and it comes out of my bank account and it's I don't have to worry about anything. Cheaper than a cup of Starbucks coffee. All right, guys, cheaper than that, right? I can fill up my tank of gas, my tank with more money than what I can do to be a member of the Livestock Conservancy on a monthly basis. So y'all, if you're interested, if you've enjoyed any of this content, any of it, it seemed like y'all did. We had more questions and comments and praises about Eric than I've seen in a chat in a while, right? And so apparently y'all are loving this. Keep loving this. Definitely support the Livestock Conservancy. Even if you're like, well, money's tight right now, and I don't know if I can do that. Share, and more sharing. Share this live stream. Share it with your mama. Share it with your daddy. Share it with grandma. Share it to that coworker that you kind of don't like, but you're trying to build relationships with. Share it with everybody. We want to make sure that all heritage breeds have an opportunity to be successful. There is no reason for all these breeds to be critical or endangered. No, these are all excellent, great breeds. They serve a purpose. They still can serve a purpose. So feel free to donate. Feel free to share any of the posts and content that we have. Anything that you do, we appreciate. Thank you for all your support in our conservation efforts and in your conservation efforts outside the Conservancy. Back to you, Brittany.
Yes, thank you to all our members and supporters. We appreciate you. You make programs like this possible. So thank you. We love you. Become a member with us. If you have questions, become a member with ARBA. If you love rabbits or you're just thinking about rabbits, they will hook you up. It's great. And with that, we will see you next week. We will be back talking with Colleen and Eric Rapp at the hair barn, the rare hair barn, I believe.
We'll figure it out.
I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. And yes, please like, share, comment, all those wonderful things. Have a great afternoon. And we'll see y'all soon. Bye.